The desert stretched endlessly beneath a blazing sun, its heat shimmering like fire on the sand. I had been riding for days, chasing rumors of stolen horses and missing travelers. But when I reached the old trading post by the canyon, I found something far worse. The wind carried a faint metallic rattle, the unmistakable sound of chains. I followed it past the corral, past the drunken laughter of the traders, and there she was. An Apache girl, barely more than 18, stood chained to a rough wooden post. The iron cuffs around her wrists had bitten deep into her skin, dried blood crusting at the edges. Her feet were bare, her ankles dusty and scarred. Her head hung low until my shadow fell across her face. When she looked up, our eyes met, and the world seemed to stop breathing. Her eyes were not the eyes of a defeated captive. They were alive, fierce, full of something between pain and defiance. I had seen men die without fear, but I had never seen anyone carry that much sorrow and strength at once. The trader noticed me staring, a fat man with a sunburned face and a smirk that made my stomach turn. He spat on the ground and said, "Pretty thing, ain't she? Wild, though. Had to beat the spirit out of her twice. Don't worry, she don't talk much." He laughed like it was a joke. "What's her name?" I asked, my voice lower than I expected. He shrugged. "Who cares? She's just Apache. Bought her off a bounty crew near Tucson. Might sell her to the army boys, they like exotic pets." I felt my fists tighten. I wanted to hit him right there, but her eyes stopped me again. She gave a small shake of her head, almost unnoticeable, warning me to do nothing. The trader turned back toward the saloon, leaving us alone. I stepped closer, careful not to scare her. Her lips moved, whispering something soft and broken. Words I didn't understand. Yet somehow I knew their meaning. It wasn't anger or threat. It was a plea. "Help me." The words weren't spoken in English, but they hit my chest all the same. As the sun sank behind the hills, I walked away, but her eyes followed me, and I knew they wouldn't let me go. The desert had fallen silent by the time the moon rose high above the canyon. Every tent in the trading post was dark, save for one dim lantern swaying in the wind beside the stable. I waited until the laughter inside the saloon faded into snores, then moved quietly through the sand. The night smelled of smoke, whiskey, and rust. Every step closer to her cage felt like a step deeper into something I couldn't turn back from. She was still there, the Apache girl slumped against the post, her chains clinking softly as she stirred. When I whispered her name, or what I wished her name was, she lifted her head slowly, suspicion flashing through her tired eyes. I knelt beside her, my knife glinting faintly in the lantern light. "I'm getting you out," I said, my voice barely above a breath. Her gaze flicked toward the trader's shack, then back to me. She didn't move, didn't smile, didn't even look relieved. For a long moment she just stared, as if she was deciding whether to trust me or not. Then she spoke, her voice hoarse and broken like it hadn't been used in days. "No," she said quietly. "Leave me." "Chained." The words hit me harder than I expected. I froze. "What are you talking about?" I whispered, confusion and anger fighting in my chest. Her eyes darted again toward the hills beyond the post. "If I run," she said slowly, "they kill my brother. They keep him. In the camp near the river. They told me if I try again, they cut his throat." My knife hand trembled. I looked down at the shackles, at the raw wounds on her wrists. I wanted to tell her we could save him, that we could escape together. But the hopelessness in her tone made the words die in my throat. She looked at me again, and for the first time I saw tears gathering in her eyes. "You go," she said. "Forget me." But her lips were lying. Her eyes weren't. They were screaming for me to do the opposite. They were begging, "Don't leave me here." When I finally stepped back into the night, her whisper followed me like a ghost. I knew I couldn't sleep. Not with those eyes burning in my mind, chained, desperate, and waiting for someone who wouldn't leave her behind. The storm rolled in before midnight, dragging thunder and fire across the sky. The wind howled through the canyon, carrying dust, smoke, and the promise of violence. I had made my choice. I couldn't leave her there. Not when I knew she was chained like an animal. Not when I knew her brother's life hung in the balance. I rode hard toward the raiders' camp, keeping low between the rocks. Every flash of lightning revealed the outline of their tents and wagons, scattered across the flatland near the river. Shadows moved by the fires, armed men laughing, drinking, unaware that the storm had brought more than rain. I left my horse tied behind a ridge and crept closer. My heart pounded louder than the thunder. Near one of the wagons I saw him, a small boy, maybe 12, bound by the wrists, his face bruised and dirt-streaked. Her brother. I cut the ropes quickly and whispered, "Quiet." His eyes widened in shock, but he nodded. "Your sister sent me," I said. "We're getting her out." We moved toward the stables, keeping to the shadows. But before we reached her, a shout split the air. One of the guards had spotted movement. A gunshot cracked, echoing through the valley. Chaos erupted. "Run!" I shouted, pushing the boy ahead. I smashed the lantern beside the stable door and kicked it open. Inside, the girl was still chained, her face pale in the flickering firelight. When she saw her brother, her breath caught. "You came back," she whispered, disbelief trembling in her voice. "I couldn't leave you," I said, raising my hammer. One swing, the chain snapped free. Sparks flew. The guard burst in behind me, rifle raised. I fired first. He fell backward into the dirt as the spilled lantern ignited the straw. Flames leapt up instantly, painting the night red and gold. The heat scorched our skin as we ran through the smoke. The roar of fire chasing our every step. Her brother stumbled, nearly falling. But she grabbed him, dragging him forward. She wasn't a prisoner anymore. She was wild, alive, unstoppable. The chains that once held her were gone, but the fire in her eyes was brighter than the blaze behind us. When we reached the open desert, rain began to fall, hissing as it hit the burning camp. We didn't stop running until the storm swallowed the world. The storm passed by the time the first light touched the horizon. The desert was quiet again, save for the soft whisper of the river winding through the rocks. Smoke still hung in the distance where the camp had burned, a dark scar against the rising sun. We had made it out alive, but just barely. Nia, that was the name she had finally told me as we ran, sat by the water's edge, her knees drawn close to her chest. The river shimmered gold in the dawn, and she dipped her hands into it, washing away the blood and ash that clung to her skin. Her wrists, raw and bruised from the chains, looked fragile now. Yet there was strength in the way she touched the water. Slow, deliberate, as if claiming herself back from the fire. Her brother, small and silent, slept a few feet away, wrapped in my coat. The boy had barely spoken since the escape, his mind still trapped in fear. But she looked at him with the tenderness of a mother, her pain hidden behind calm eyes. "You saved us," she said softly, not looking up. "I just did what anyone should have done," I answered. She shook her head. "No, many see chains and walk away. You did not." Her voice trembled, but there was pride in it too. "My name is Nia," she said again, her accent wrapping around the word like music. "It means purpose." I nodded, letting the word settle between us. "Fitting name." She smiled faintly, her first real smile, though her eyes were still heavy with memories that would never fade. "You cannot come with us," she said quietly. "If they find you, they will kill you. But we will find the others. My people are still hiding in the mountains. We will go home." Her brother stirred, and she helped him stand. I watched as they started across the plain, two small figures walking toward the sun, toward freedom. When she turned one last time, her eyes met mine. No longer screaming for help, no longer chained by fear. They were strong, alive and full of the same fire that had burned away the darkness. I stayed by the river until they disappeared into the horizon. The wind carried the scent of rain and smoke, and for the first time in a long while, the desert felt clean again.